Let's do it. Welcome back to the White, Gray, Black Weekly Manga Podcast. My name is Bruce. I'm here again with Gautam.
What is up?
We're here to talk about the latest and greatest ongoing manga releases. Today, just for spoiler warning, we're going to be talking about Frieren at the Funeral, or Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Chapter 109, Service Wars Chapter 1, and Reincarnation of the Suicidal Battle God, Chapter 70. We have a huge block of news to get through, so let's get started with that. First off, this past weekend was Anime Japan, so we got a lot of announcements on new anime that are coming. Let me read through this list real quick, and anything you want to give feedback on, Gautam, shout it out. The first one is Mato Seihei no Slave, Chained Soldier. That is January 2024. That's a series that I read that I think is pretty decent. I know that you don't read that, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it? What's the studio for that one? It's pretty popular, right?
Who is the studio for this? I feel I grabbed some tweets real quick, and I didn't grab studios. Let's see. I'll just clickety-clack. My anime list says Winter Studio 7 Arcs, who I have not...
Never...
They do Blue Period, Tonikaku Kawaii, Sekirei.
Okay, that's good.
They did White Album. I've seen White Album. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, mostly looks like majority kind of ecchi stuff, I would say, which lines up, and then Tonikaku Kawaii I think is kind of cute slice of life, so yeah, that lines up with the Chained Soldier incredibly ecchi series, so I think that one will be popular. Yeah, I think that one will be popular. Trigun Stampede got the announcement of a sequel, which will be the last series, will finish their story. I've seen scenes from Trigun Stampede. I think it looks fucking sick. I really like Studio Orange, who does this. They also did Land of the Lustrous, which I thought was amazing, and they also did Beastars. They're the 3D studio. Yeah. So,
yeah, well, sweet. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that eventually. I'm reading Trigun slowly over whenever I feel like it, so it's still a really good read. This is the big one, Jujutsu Kaisen 2 Season 2, which was announced will be 2 core. They're going through the Hidden Inventory, Premature Death, and Shibuya Incident arcs. I don't know what any of those means. I have not read Jujutsu Kaisen. I did not like Season 1. I know that I am in the majority, because Jujutsu Kaisen is the big thing, I would say. The big thing in anime right now is definitely JJK. So
yeah, that's huge, man. Also, that doesn't sound like an arc name. It just sounds, I don't know, just like a bunch of words shoved together.
I mean, lots of arcs just sound like that, right?
No, I don't think so. Like they're named after something relevant, but maybe
yeah, hidden inventory. Maybe yeah, there's a hidden inventory might be a proper noun in this instance, where we're thinking those are just 2 words. Maybe there's something in the series that hidden inventory refers to that we don't know.
Yeah.
We also yeah, we're also getting more Horimiya, which is interesting. I know that a lot of Horimiya fans were disappointed in the last series. I think the last series rushed through the manga content that it covered. From what I understand, this new series is basically just going to adapt more of the manga, more of the stories that they skipped, since Horimiya's pretty episodic, like incredibly episodic from the parts of it that I have read and seen.
Okay.
So yeah, more Horimiya. We are also getting Spy Family. This is another big announcement, in my opinion. Spy Family is getting a movie called White Movie, and a Season 2. Season 2 is announced to be in October. I don't know if we got timing on the movie. I would assume it would be before or near the same time. But yeah, more Spy Family coming. That'll get us, I'm trying to think of how far they got. That'll catch us up pretty close to live, I would say. I don't think we will get through the bus hijacking, but we may get through the boat. I would think we're definitely going to get through Yor and the boat arc. And I don't know what else. I'm sure there's it's mostly episodic stuff in there also in Spy Family. So, yeah, more of that coming. That's a really good anime. So
where did they end the show?
That's a good question. I didn't watch season 2, so let me see. if I can get an episode list real quick. Spy Family episodes. Okay, so, or I guess it was Core 2. They did Project Apple, Yours Kitchen. I think they added some anime original stuff. Oh, they did the tennis arc, Underground Tennis, Tennis Again, Replacing, Shopping with Friends, Eden Academy. Yeah, essentially with the tennis arc and then a little bit after that. So,
Okay, so kind of like the worst arc.
yeah, and I'm trying to think. Some of my friends watch this and they liked the tennis arc. So, and I do think that in an anime form is probably a little bit more entertaining than it was in manga, but
It just felt like a filler arc. And even then, it wasn't bad. It was just the worst out of anything I feel like that series has put out. You know?
Yeah, it was still, much more.
It's still pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was much more just kind of like, well, this doesn't matter to any of the plot or anything. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
They're just playing tennis. It doesn't have Yor in it like at all until the end. Anya's also barely in it. So, yeah, pretty focused on Lloyd and everybody else there. But yeah, so more Spy Family. I threw in here at the end Devil's a Part-Timer Season 3 because I love Devil's a Part-Timer Season 1. And I heard nothing but bad things about Season 2, and I've also heard nothing but bad things about the way that series ends. So I am curious if people are receptive to Season 3, or if they change the ending, or what happens there.
Yeah, even Season 1 was just like kind of okay for me, so this is like negative interest in my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch.
A lot of my friends love it, so yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch Season 2, so who knows if that will be worth it. Any other anime stuff that you heard about that I might have missed?
No, I think we already talked about like the Mashal anime and
yeah, Mashal anime is coming. I'll just scroll.
Frieren anime. I think I linked you one earlier that I'm forgetting.
There was a trailer. Was it the trailer? It was a trailer for Mashal, or maybe it was a trailer for.
Oh yeah. We talked about how the Monster 8 key visuals look like.
Oh, the Monster 8 key visuals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are rough. If you get a chance, if you're a reader of Kaiju 8, Monster number 8, whatever we want to call it here. If you are a reader of that, go check out the released anime. It's not concept art. What do they call it? Character art. It's bad. Key visuals. There you go. Yeah, key visuals, key character art. It's not good. I'll just go out and say it. It's very strictly not good. And that's by Bones, I want to say, right? Like that's by a pretty respectable, good studio, I would think. I think it is. Or is it Madhouse?
No, it's Production IG.
Production IG. Okay, yeah. Another. I mean, that's also a pretty good. But Production IG did. I'm gonna get flamed.
I think they do a million billion things.
They do a lot. I'm trying to think of. They've done some good action stuff. I'm just gonna Google it. Fuck it. Production IG.
They did Haikyuu, you know.
Okay. I was gonna say Haikyuu, but I was like, no, I thought that was something else.
They did the Psycho-Pass.
Psycho-Pass. Psycho-Pass is I think the big one.
And the key visual guy is the same guy who did the animation on Fooly Cooly, and that looked
the new Fooly Coolies or the original.
Original.
Okay, that's the good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. And Fooly Cooly looked fucking amazing. So I'm huffing that copium here, and
Fooly Cooly was also.
I'm hoping it just looks bad still, but it looks good animated.
Yeah, that's my hope too, because I think Kaiju 8, if it's animated well, will be a super sick, super popular series, which I think, and we were talking about this, the start of Kaiju 8 is the best part. The first 20 or so chapters, I think, are really, really good, really solid, really new ideas. Maybe not totally new, but, you know, a different enough and cool enough spin on the shonen genre that I was interested in it at the start, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. It was really fun at the start. So hopefully he captures that magic.
Yeah, I hope so. Let me share my OBS real quick so you can see it if I'm on it. Next thing would be sales stuff. We'll just go through this real quick because there is a lot more to get to. Blue Lock up in first place. Frieren actually taking number 2, which is impressive to have a. It says it's shonen, but it's like shonen seinen hybrid, I would say. I have something that's not just a straight shonen and actually not from Shueisha up in top 2. The Blue Lock also is Kodansha. Frieren is Shogakukan. So yeah, those are all very cool. Everything else pretty standard. Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, Kaiju 8. Yofukashi no Uta is here again. Oshinoko is down there number 9. Always good to see that. 5-star stories at number 10. I looked this up after we talked about it last week. This series started being published in like the 80s. It's a mecha thing, and it is still ongoing. And so volume 17, these also got reprinted recently. Like in the last 5 or 10 years, they just started reprinting the whole series or maybe updating it or something. So this is a long running series that's very popular. It's mecha, so it's very much sci-fi mecha war stuff. It's how would I say it? The Gundam of manga, maybe one of the most popular mecha manga. So yeah, I mean, like it's in our top 10 again. So what was that?
Because volume 17 isn't very far in, like, so is this like a reboot or something?
No, it's not, because I had the same thought. I go, oh, okay, it's volume 17, they rebooted. No, I think it's monthly, or it's taken breaks, or it's just a slow publishing type thing. Yeah, this volume 17, I think, is current, and this is not a reprint, this is not a redraw, this is the same author, artist, etc., everything that I could find. But yeah, I think it's just an incredibly popular sort of mecha series that, I don't know, I've never really heard about over here, maybe because I don't know if it has an anime at all. So a mecha series without an anime is not recognizable in the West, I would say.
Yeah, it might not even, I don't even know if it has like scans or scanlations.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I mean, I have not seen it. Let me see. Yeah, 1989 it started. There was one anime film, it looks like, and that's all that's been adapted of it. So, yeah, one film adaptation, the 5-star stories, covers the first arc. Yeah, I mean, it's got, the Wikipedia's got, as of 5 years ago, it has almost, 8.5 million copies. So it's probably coming up on 10 million copies, which is a lot of copies sold. So it's, yeah, it's an incredibly popular series. I'm surprised I haven't heard of it. I'm kind of interested to read it, see if it's actually quality or just one of those long-running things. Who knows?
Yeah, let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will. Here's top for the week by series. Again, Blue Lock, Jujutsu Kaisen hops up past Frieren from other volumes. One Piece at number 4, Blue Lock, Slam Dunk. Yet again, we're going on almost 6 months of Slam Dunk being in the top 10 every week in some way. So, yeah. Good for the author there. Oshinoko in 7th. Marimashita Rumakun is up there with past things. Kaiju 8. Yofukashi no Uta. Yeah, we are back sort of in the. We had a couple of weeks there at the start of the year where Shueisha was not the majority of what was selling in the top 10. And if you were looking here, Shueisha now, I believe, is 6 of these 10, or maybe 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so they're 5 of 10 now. So they're usually half of the top 10 or more. So back to the status quo. Shueisha wins it all.
Yep.
All right. Our next news topic is something that we talked about, I want to say maybe right at the start of the podcast, 4.5, 5 months ago, the Manga Taisho Awards. So the Manga Taisho Awards, just to go through what they are real quick. If you go back to our first episode on the Manga Taisho Awards, we did some predictions, I want to say, in January of these, and then we talked about the last year's awards at the end of the year. This is voted on by manga bookstore owners and bookstore publishers and those types of people. So this is not voted on by other mangaka. This is not voted on by publishers. This is pretty much strictly bookstore owners. So Manga Taisho Awards is kind of what are you suggesting to people? What do you think is the most suggestible type thing? If you run a bookstore, you're exposed theoretically to everything. That's what these awards are. So in our predictions, I know that I was pulling big on Akane Banashi. I know that you were too. I think you also thought that Goodbye Eri probably had a pretty good shot. I don't remember exactly what our predictions were. I definitely predicted that Akane would win this. The truth is, Akane gets second, and only 2 votes behind first place. So the way this works is there's 500 or so people probably queried. They all vote. Every point is assigned, and then you rank them by number of points. First place is a series called Korekaite Shine. That is 102 points. Second place is Akane Banashi with 100 points. Third place is Orono Sono no Hoshi, 65 points. I've read this. But those are the top 3. Akane gets second, just 2 points behind this other series. So we were close. And let's talk about the first place, because this pulled what I would call an Oscars. And I will explain what that means. The Oscars, and to be honest, the Tonys maybe also like to do this, although it happens less often there. They love to give awards to movies about movies, right? That's what I talk about. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about pulling an Oscars here. The first place winner, this Korete Kaite Shine, translated, that is Draw This and Die. That is a manga about a girl drawing manga. So first place in the Manga Taisho Awards is a manga about drawing manga. So that is pulling an Oscars, in my opinion. That's the Oscars giving Best Picture to Good Night and Good Luck, a movie about movies, etc., stuff like that. So,
yeah, it sounds masturbatory. I guess all award shows do that, huh?
I mean, yeah, all awards are a little bit, but
I'll have to check it out. Maybe this is actually good.
Yeah, so this is not. We obviously couldn't provide too much feedback on this. This is not translated into English. I think I saw a translation request on Reddit for this the day that it won the award. So if it hasn't shown up today and I've missed it, I bet that it'll be up pretty soon if somebody grabs it. I am very curious to read it. I'm sure it's great. Every other first place of the Manga Taisho Awards that I've checked out has been very good. Past winners are stuff like, you'll see The Summer Hikaru Died Hikaru Gashin Natsu. That is 11th place this year, but that was first place last year. That's an incredible series. Chihaya Furu run in the past. Yeah, lots of big names in the winners. Let me scroll through real quick. Yeah, Bride Story, Beastars, Blue Period, Frieren run this in 2021. Darwin Incident in 2022. That's what we talked about last year. And actually, that's probably an unpublished episode. That was the first episode we recorded, but I don't think that one's public. So maybe that'll be a secret reveal and to be a low quality thing. Maybe eventually, but yeah, I mean, past nominees.
I think it'll be good to just never post it.
That's not a good one. But yeah, Darwin Incident won last year. Darwin Incident is very good. Oshinoko has been nominated the last 2 years. Danger's in My Heart. So it's a really good list. I think this is my favorite manga award. So I don't think they're wrong about this first place. I'm just curious to see if is it really that much better than Akane Banashi, because Akane is really good.
No clue. So is this just a list of every manga ever that's currently running?
What do you mean?
Like, is this just pulling from every manga that's currently running right now? Because this doesn't seem like
no. This is so Manga Taisho specifically. I believe it's like less than 4 volumes or 5 volumes published. There's a volume limitation. So which is why you'll see stuff like Takabi's Original Sin is here again. The Summer Hikaru Died is here again after last year. I think Gekuko Kamen was also nominated last year. A lot of these were brand new, and now they're new, but not past the upper limits of volumes, so they can still be nominated. So,
okay.
It is supposed to.
So Takabi can get nominated theoretically every year forever.
I want to say part of it is you have to have both published a volume in the year and not have more than X volumes published. So Takabi's Original Sin is over. It cannot be nominated in 2023 unless it releases a new volume, I believe is how that works. So Takabi's Original Sin, I believe, was releasing volumes through last year. Maybe only its last volume or last 2 volumes, right? It's only 4 or 5 volumes. Or no, maybe even less than that, maybe 3. But yeah, they all, Goodbye Eri, I think, released early last year, maybe middle last year. So, Yeah, stuff like that. It does have limitations. It is supposed to be focused on new series or young, up-and-coming, non-mainstream series, right? So, although stuff like Akane still shows up, stuff like Frieren, which is pretty mainstream, showed up. Chihaya Furu is pretty mainstream, but it won back in, I think, like 2011, something like that. So,
like, Frieren at the Funeral has more than 4, you know, like
well, but it wouldn't have last year. Maybe it's 8 volumes. There's some volume limit on it that I don't. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. Let me see if I got it. But yeah, so here are the awards. If you're looking on screen, most of the 8 or fewer collected volumes in length. Okay, so 8 volumes. So I think Frieren probably had 8 volumes at the time of nomination because I think we're just now hitting volume 10 or 11. But yeah, anyways. First place, Korekai Teshina, Draw This and Die, 102 points. Second place, Akane Banashi. That was what I thought was going to take it because it was Japanese focused. I did not count on a manga about making manga coming from the Shadows. Also, no chance. We didn't get to read it. Not translated in English. So, third place is Ono no Sono no Hoshi. This is Hoshi's Garden of Girls. There's a couple of chapters of this translated. I've read them. They're pretty fun and interesting. It's pretty lighthearted, but pretty well written. Surprised to see this in third, but I mean, it's definitely pretty good, and it's definitely something that I think appeals more broadly than a lot of shonen stuff. This is Hoshi's Garden of Girls, I think, probably has a much larger female readership than something maybe even like Akane does. Other stuff you might notably know, in fourth place is You and I Are Polar Opposites. That's 65 points. I think you maybe brought this as an extra discussion couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, it was like months and months ago.
Yeah, maybe a couple months ago. Goodbye Eri by Chainsaw Man author Tatsuki Fujimoto. That's in 7th place with 44 points. I maybe expect that to be higher, but I also think that people know about Tatsuki Fujimoto and Chainsaw Man and all his work now. So I think that is recommended less, and I think that the voters in the Manga Taisho Award generally avoid hyper mainstream stuff. So I think that just dropped for that reason.
I think it's just because it's not as modern as some of these other titles, and it's not just relevant in like the public eye at the current moment. Because if you look at Takapi and Goodbye Eri and Hikaru, the Hikaru is the winner, right? And now it's like in 11th place or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think it's just all of what's currently relevant in the public eye that gets like voted up. Yeah.
Or at the very least, it is what these voters want to be currently relevant for a time, and then once they've got it popular, they move on to the next thing, which I kind of appreciate, to not kind of, give awards to the same people year over year. But yeah.
It makes sense, yeah.
Couple other notable things. Smoking Behind the Supermarket is in 8th place. Happy to see that on here. That's a great series. Takapi's Original Sin, 10th place. Gekiko Kamen, which I've read, which is really fucking weird. Nippon Sengoku, which I have not heard of, and Tenmaku no Jadogal, which I also have not heard of. Those are 5th and 6th. I might have to look those up and see what they are. But
well, sweet. Yeah, this is kind of what we expected. I honestly, for the life of me, I can't remember our predictions. I think I might have said Takapi would get first or something like that.
Yeah, I think you were probably pulling for Takapi or Goodbye Eri. I think those were both pretty high up on both of our things. I thought this was going to be a tight race between Akane and Goodbye Eri. So I do think, if 2 people change their votes to Akane here from the other first place, or 3 people from something else to Akane gets first. I'm so super proud of that series. I'm very happy for it. I love reading it. But yeah, so that's the Manga Taisho Awards 2023. Cool.
Hey, sweet.
So let's go back to the main page. Boy, so let's talk about, okay, this is maybe actually the biggest news, or at least maybe the most interesting one to talk about. So Weekly Shonen Jump, starting in, so they do they call them volumes? I don't remember. Starting in magazine number 19, which is the one that publishes, issue, there you go. I was like, what is the word? Issue. Issue 19 of 2023, which publishes in Japan on April 10th. We get those chapters on the Sunday after, so April 12th. We are going to get 4 new series, 1 a week, starting on that date. this comes alongside one series being announced canceled this Sunday, essentially, this weekend, and that is Tokyo Demon Bride is canceled in issue 18, which is April 2nd, US for us. That's March 31st in Japan, I think. But yeah, so where do you think we should start? Do we start with what's going to get canceled or what's replacing it?
Let's talk about what we think is going to get canned, and sure. I think this is not going to be a long discussion because it's
I think
obvious, right?
I think the other two are. I think the first two are pretty easy, and the third one's up for debate, but could be any of them. Yeah. So we have heard Tokyo Demon Bride is being canceled in issue 18. In issue 19, we'll talk about what's replacing it. Assumedly, something else will have its last chapter in issue 19 to be replaced in issue 20. The other two replacement issues are 23 and 24, so we will get a last chapter Demon Bride this weekend. We will get something next weekend, and then we will skip 2 more and then 2 more in a row. So my guess is Tokyo Demon Bride is canceled this weekend on April 12th. I think Ginka and Luna is canceled. Is probably the next one to go.
Can it wrap it up in 2 chapters? Yeah, it can do that.
I think it can. I think we are absolutely 2 chapters away.
I think Ginka and Luna is gone next, and after that, Cypher Academy.
You think Cypher Academy goes?
Sorry, Fabricant is what I meant.
Fabricant 100. Okay. See, I think, based on the ordering I saw of some popularity polls, Ichigoki Under Control, right, which is the weird robot control gag manga, that's gone. Has not done well. It is also less published, so I could see it going last in the cancellations. I think the last spot is a little up for debate. I wrote here that the one of either Fabricant 100, Mission Yozakura Family, or Cypher Academy is going to be canceled. I think Ginka and Luna is a write-off. I like that series. There's a lot of potential in that author. I'm curious to see what they're doing. Ginka and Luna wasn't it. It had too many issues early on with its storytelling. Although the last 2 or 3 chapters have been insanely good. So I'm super hyped to see what they do next.
It's going to be Ginka and Tuna on their web magazine. The sequel series.
You know what? I would not be unhappy to see Ginka and Luna with a different in a different magazine or a different medium or with a different editor would be my thing. But I think Ginka and Luna's gone. Ichigoki Under Control, I feel like has to be, I think it has to be gone. I don't think anyone reads that or likes it. So you think Fabricant is gone? Of Fabricant, Yozakura Family, or Cypher Academy, you think Fabricant's the most likely to be cut?
Yeah, probably. But with that said, Ichigoki Under Control is a comedy manga, and you could kind of end those with no setup in 1 chapter. True. You can't really do that with Ginka and Luna or Fabricant, but you can do that with Ichigoki. You just say, and they all continue their shenanigans later.
Right, yep. There's kind of one final gag. Yeah. I wrote a little note here. So I believe Cypher Academy outranked Black Clover for the last couple of weeks. So maybe this is a big maybe. Maybe it's Black Clover being canceled. It would not be the first time something has published, multiple hundreds of chapters, fallen in the sales, and been canceled by WSJ. So that would be a shocker, I think. I think it would be a shocker if Black Clover gets canceled over something like Fabricant or Cypher Academy, both of which I think are pretty subpar. I've not read Yozakura Family. Have you read any of Mission Yozakura Family?
Yeah, the first 15 to 20 chapters, I think.
Okay.
It was fine.
Anything memorable or just okay, I guess?
No, nothing memorable.
Yeah.
It was just okay. It was one of those things that is it's a mafia family where everyone is an assassin. So it's a played out trope.
That is actually a played out trope in Japan with the Yakuza. So
yeah, there are a million things like that, like Kindergarten Wars, Assassination Classroom, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean even the that bodyguard manga we've talked about in the past. That's kind of the same. Yeah,
I haven't heard from that in a while, but yeah,
I've been reading it. It's still good. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think Fabricant 100 here feels like the worst, although I'm not familiar with the Yozakura Family. That one's been around for more than 100 chapters. Cypher Academy, we mentioned, I want to say last week or 2 weeks ago, got a reprint on its volume 1. It also is attached to a well-known author in Nisoi Isin. Even though I don't like it, and I think we've both dropped it, and I think it does have issues, I think just as far as popularity and sales-wise, I think they're more willing to hold on to Cypher Academy than either Fabricant or Yozakura Family, right?
Nepotism.
I mean, kind of. I mean, Nisoi Isin is a known property, although his manga have not nearly hit as hard as his light novels. If you go sort of up the rankings, the next 2 series are Me and Roboco and Blue Box, and I don't think either of those are in any fear of being canceled. So I think the bottom 7 things we've got, right, is Tokyo Demon Bride canceled, Ginka and Luna absolutely canceled next or by the end of this thing, Ishikoki Under Control I think also absolutely canceled, and then Fabricant 100 or Cypher Academy or Yozakura Family. Yozakura Family I think is long-standing. Cypher Academy I think has the author attached to it, and they're more willing to give it more time to sell well. So yeah, I would agree. It's probably Fabricant 100 is gone.
And I don't know if you knew this, but comedy manga have a lot more leniency in regards to their ranking.
Oh yeah.
So even if they're towards the bottom, as long as they're not consistently dead last, they have a strong chance of surviving. So even though Roboco is like in the bottom half, like the majority of the time, that thing's probably going to go for a while. Like no cancellation in sight.
I definitely remember. I don't know if I was like in the position of picking up and reading new manga when Roboco started, or if I like read the first chapter and was like, this is not for me. But yeah, I have noticed consistently Roboco's been bottom half, even bottom 3 or 4 when some cancellations come through, and is not canceled. It also has an anime on the way, so yeah, no fear there. Blue Box is good and shouldn't be canceled. It's not perfect, but it's still a really good series, and that is going to get an anime eventually, and that'll be a good anime. Yeah, I think it's Fabricant 100 here is the most likely. I would say, let's do it this way. Have you ever done a 90-50-10 prediction? I think maybe we did this. Okay, 90-50-10 is 90%. What's the last cancellation? 50% and 10%. So all that's set up to say my 90% is it's probably Fabricant 100. My 50% is maybe it's Cypher Academy. Maybe they think it's not holding up and it's gone. My 10% is it's Black Clover. It's just bad. It's just bad and it's time to cancel it. I don't know. That would seem like doesn't seem likely to happen.
Yeah, I would say 90%. I would say the same, except I don't have a 10%, and I don't think Black Clover will get canceled. I don't think there's any way.
I don't think either. It would be wild if it happened. We would have more news to talk about, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, like the anime was like popular when it came out. Mm-hmm. It had like a really good studio behind it, and so yeah, I just think it's around to stay. Plus, it's a long running IP, so I feel like it has an established there's no risk in it. You know what I mean? Like it has an established audience already, so I feel like it's safer for Jump to just keep it around for a bit. Yep,
I would agree. Any other comments on cancellations? Anything you want to mention?
No, I think we covered all of them, and we didn't really talk on Demon Bride, but we didn't really read Demon Bride, so
yeah. I mean, I read I think the first 3 or 4 chapters, and it was fine. I went back and read chapter maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it again was sort of like, oh, this is okay. It's not great. I don't think that author is. I don't think it's as trashy or garbage as some of the other stuff. Like I don't think it was nearly as bad as Dorororon. It wasn't. It was kind of generic, but not really as generic as some of the other stuff. It's not as bad. I mean, the other prediction I don't have on here, because I don't know if it's had a volume yet, is Jingashi X. I think that is already on the chopping block. That might be a Jump Plus thing.
I don't remember what that is. Yeah,
that is Chinese Naruto. That's all it is.
Oh yeah,
fighting vampires,
the tiger or whatever. Yeah,
that actually might be Jump Plus. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what will be replacing those 4 series that are going to get canceled. So Tokyo Demon Bride, last chapter this weekend. Week after that, April 10th, the first new series is called Tenmaku Cinema. This is going to be a story about a high school student who loves cinema. That seems pretty generic. The interesting part here is the creator combo behind it. This is by Shun Saeki and Yuto Tsukada. So these are the guys who brought you Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars, which is an incredibly popular series and an incredibly popular anime. And yeah, it kind of has me hyped for this new series because that's a creator combo that I think has done good work in the past.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, what is this even about? That's the first thing, because the description's really nothing, right?
Yeah.
And the second one is, how are they going to find a way to draw softcore porn in this?
That is, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, okay, it's these two guys again. And, their big thing was blasting people's clothes off with while eating. So, I mean, movies, maybe they shoot their own movie and there's something in there. I don't know. But I would guess absolutely this is going to have a large element of ecchi in it. I bet I put money on it with these two behind the wheel. So.
Yeah, like the artist did hentai before Soma. So
yeah,
sense.
he did.
Also, same with the Tomo-chan artist.
Oh, really? I guess I didn't know that one. But yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of artists. What's the other one? Nagatoro-chan also did it. But yeah, I know that there's a few. But yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm keeping my eye on this one. This one and the next one, I think, are the two higher chance of successes. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of information on all of them. We essentially have like a one-line tagline, not even tagline, like a one-line elevator pitch for each of these. But yeah, the first one, Tenmaku Cinema, April 12th in the US. That Sunday is when we'll get to see that. High school student who loves cinema. After that, in issue 20, we are getting a series called Kirueo by Tadatoshi Fujimaki. This is the author of Kuroko no Basket. So that's another pretty popular series. I have seen clips from Kuroko no Basket, and I hate it from those clips. I don't think it's for me, but it's a popular series and a popular author who is proven, and curious to see them come back and do what they do. I didn't get any information on Kirueo. I think
100 plus chapters of Kuroko. It was fine. I think it's a weak sports manga. You haven't read any of it, right?
No, have not read it.
Okay.
I've seen a bit, but not too much.
Yeah. So basically, it's just a basketball manga, but like Haikyuu, they all have like their strong suits, except Kuroko has like a superpower.
Yeah, they're all like mutants, right?
No, like I mean, I guess
not technically, but like, isn't the main guy's thing?
Perks.
You were telling me, I think, that the main guy's power is like he could just become invisible while he has the ball and nobody can see him. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like
that is his superpower, yeah. Like and in real life too. Like he can just nobody can detect his presence. So when he's on the court, like nobody knows he's there. And the ball gets passed and they're like, whoa, a ghost caught it. No, they're like, well, where did he come from? Whoa, what? I have no object permanence. I didn't know he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I can't shit on it for basketball superpowers when Soma has cooking superpowers, and I think
I mean it's not an uncommon trope to kind of just dial up a normal high school experience. That's a lot of what shonen is. So
it's just really funny to think about, like someone not seeing like an open player is like, whoa, how did that happen?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to see if there was any more information. Let's see. Okay, so this is based on a one-shot that they did a couple of years ago called Kiruao Haru, which is, I think, shortened here to Kiruao. Assassin action comedy series in high school. So that's I hate to say it, but we've seen that before. So we'll see how this does.
Bro, we literally just talked about how that's a trope that everyone uses. That's crazy. Okay.
I mean, Tokyo Demon Bride story kind of has this. Witch Watch is like bordering on, okay, they're in school and he's not an assassin, he's an ogre with super, like, there's so many things that have done this.
The Mafia family thing we just talked about. That's crazy.
Bodyguard is also very similar to this.
Hopefully it's good though.
I mean, it's a proven author. I'm curious to try it. I think if they go a bit more fantasy and less, this is real basketball where mutants with superpowers are playing, I think it'll work better. I'm curious to try it. So
Honestly, it's fine if it's a completely tropey premise, as long as they do it well. It's just that the tropey premise already puts me at like a quote unquote doubt situation, where
Yes, I agree. You've chosen
yeah,
good ideas are a dime a dozen. It's so cheap to come up with a good idea. When your idea is high school assassin, that has been done. And we have seen it
yeah.
before, and it's not an original idea, and even original ideas are cheap, so you should have one. You've now cast doubt on this, even though I was more interested in it. Yeah, those are the first two. We get 2 weeks where nothing is canceled. Issue 23. The next new series we get is called Dry Try. This is by Jun Kirarazaka. Their previous work is something called Bone Collection, which I think was on Jump or Jump Plus years ago.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounded familiar to me too, but I haven't read any of it. Not super popular, obviously. Dry Try is described as a post-war boxing series. I got a lot of questions about this. One, post which war? And boxing in Shonen Jump is curious to me. This is a weird combination, not original necessarily combination, but an interesting combination.
Oh, that's cool. I remember Bone Collection though, and a little bit. I don't know. Bone Collection was I saw a screenshot of it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
holy crap! This is like a flashback that I wouldn't have remembered ever in my life again.
Yeah.
It was okay. He can basically turn bones into weapons and fight monsters. That's what they do. Like
Interesting. I mean, that's literally the plot of God. What was that called? Skeleton Double. That was Skeleton
it's a,
Double, which is published. Yeah.
it is the plot of kind of everything. Bone Collection was just like Dororo, where he partners up with this bone demon.
There was some
and
cute little guy or something. The Bone Demon is cute, right? Yeah.
It's the girl.
It's the girl. Okay, I put it up on screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the hope for me is always that authors that did not fully succeed on their first went and almost all of these guys, when I looked at them, it's not like they've been writing nothing. They've almost all published, a one shot a year at least. For Shueisha or some series, they all obviously are grinding and hopefully getting better. So, most manga don't make it on their first try. Very, very few do. One Piece is a huge exception. So
One Piece is an exception to a rule, to be honest.
Yep. Any thoughts on if I told you this is going to be a post-war boxing series, what time period do you think this is set in, and what kind of story do you think this will be?
War boxing series. This is after like the Cyber Wars
Okay.
in 3000, and this is going to be that movie where Paul Blart trained a robot how to box. Or maybe it's Hugh Jackman. Yeah,
I was about to say Hugh Jack. You're talking about
Real Steel.
Real Steel. That's what it was.
What
Yes.
a stupid name.
I saw that movie in theaters. It was fine.
Was it good?
It's just, I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember hating it. I think it was one of those goofy generic. When did that come out? Like 2014, 2013, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just one of those action movies from that period. Yeah, I'm actually guessing that it's weird for me. Is this just going to be a post World War II period piece in WSJ? It reads to me like it. I mean, it reads to me like it might be, but I don't think that'll work. I don't think young boys and the people who read Shonen Jump want to read a post-war Depression boxing series. So I don't know which war they're talking about. Generally, when you talk about post-war Japan, you're talking about post-World War II. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, you know what, Bruce? I don't want to read that. That sounds bad.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean...
So I'm hoping it's not like an actual historical event. Unless they can really get into the characters and actually
I mean, as much as good ideas are a dime a dozen, I'm not about to dismiss good writing from a weird idea. I'm with you there. I'm not super interested in like a historical docu series about boxing post World War II. Not something that interests me. Not big into sports manga, so if it's really sports focused, not for me, but it could be character focused. It could have superpowers. It could not be post World War II. It could be post any war. Yeah, this one I think is the most up in the air of what is this? I don't know what it is.
like if post-war always makes me think of World War II because that
Yes.
impacted Japan like in a major, enormous way. So I that's what it feels like to me, just based off of speculation and
That seems most
the limited
likely.
information. Yeah.
It seems most likely, but I feel like I mean, Demon Slayer is like kind of quote unquote post-war period. It's like 1920s, I want to say, is what it's like kind of related to. It's also fantasy. This one
Mhm.
also might be fantasy. Maybe there's magic or something in it. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like Kuroko no Basket and the boxer's superpowers. He can make himself invisible in the boxing rink. I don't know.
I don't want that, man. That sounds like it's
Yeah.
like yeah, there were war crimes and terrible circumstances in this war, but also this guy can shoot a fireball out of his punching glove. It's like no, I don't want that. That's a total discrepancy right there. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I'm concerned about this one because boxing, I don't want to say it's been done because you can retell a story again and again, but like Hajime no Ippo has done everything there is in boxing. Baki has done everything there is in fighting and boxing. Those kind of cover the two ends of mostly realistic to mostly unrealistic kind of boxing fighting stuff. And there's been a couple of others that have been um, big or in that realm, but I just don't. I don't know if any. I don't know if post-war appeals to the WSJ crowd. I don't know if boxing appeals to the WSJ crowd either. I can understand soccer or like soccer, volleyball, baseball, right? All those things are things that most kids in Japan play or experience. Boxing is not. That is not a commonly involved sport. Much more common in the States here. But even then, boxing is not something that I had in my high school. I don't know if you had it at yours. Surely not. But
No, I did boxing though. I think boxing is cool as long as you draw it well. You have to have really good art, like
yes,
Ippo does. You know.
yeah, exactly. I did. It is for the action scenes. It is very, very crucial to have those drawn well. Plug for my action manga or video on the White Gray Black channel about Murata because he's the best. For the last one, this is the one I think I'm the most dismissive of. This series in issue number 24 is called Nue no Onmyoji by Kawae Kaut. Kaut. I don't know how you would say that in Japanese. They did some previous work that was just a one shot. This is, I think, a new author who has not done much. The description given here is, are you ready for this? Because it's a great idea. Yokai
Okay.
X School X Battle.
Oh.
Yep. You want to talk about dangerously generic?
Yeah.
This one to me is this one is already not sticking. So I'm much. This is the one I'm most dismissive of so far.
Yeah, like honestly, none of these are sticking, but I have a limited description so far,
I mean, it's a
and
sentence or less
I'm
per
not,
each. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not giving them very charitable reads based on the descriptions. So, I'm just gonna say I'm neutral towards all of these until I hear more, and then
Yeah.
I'll be hyped or not hyped. How did the like you saw the covers for them, right?
No, they do not have covers released. Most of them not, unless there was a one shot to accompany them, which some of them do.
I
Yes.
think we can assume with Soma that the art will be good.
Yes, I think that is the one that I am least unsure of. Because at the very least, I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, does Weekly Shonen Jump have like a very ecchi forward series running right now? It really doesn't, does it? Like, there's a little bit of stuff in all their things, I would think, but it doesn't really have like an ecchi forward series. So this might be to fill that gap.
Yeah, the horny gap. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like
I
what's the
can't think of
horniest
one,
thing on
honestly.
here? Like, is it My Hero? It's probably One Piece. This is probably the
It's
horniest
a
thing on
One
here.
Piece. It's like yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. It's
Yeah,
probably just One Piece.
yeah.
Uh,
I haven't read Undead Unluck. Witch Watch doesn't seem very ecchi to me. Maybe a little bit.
oh, I guess Undead Unluck is kind of etchy.
Undead Unluck has like probably a little bit. Yeah, but I can definitely see a hole in WSJ of like, hey, we don't have Shokugeki no Soma anymore. Can we just have it again? Can we just have an ecchi forward, weird battle, whatever thing? So
And in Undead Unluck, the main character the main lead propositions the girl like every chapter. So
Oh, right.
maybe
I remember that from
changed,
chapter one,
yeah.
but I haven't read much past that. So,
Well, like the onus of it is he wants to die, but he's immortal, so he
right.
can't. And the girl is like terrible luck to anyone she touches. So he thinks by having sex that he'll finally die.
You like take her
Which
bad
is
luck or something?
yeah, because that's like the most intimate form of touching, and so
Okay.
he's
Because it's
thinking that the
yeah.
luck will be so bad that
I remember this
uh
from the I remember this from the chapters where she's like, if you touch him, it's a little bit of bad luck. If you hug them, it's more. So like more physical contact, more bad luck. That
it's like based off of affection, if I
yeah.
remember
Oh,
correctly.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of lines up,
Yeah, but
though it's a little
yeah, but
weird.
who
But
knows? What an insane plot saying out loud.
I know. I was about to say like just yeah. I'm gonna have to read more of Undead Unluck before the anime comes out, just so I can see what it's got going on there. But yeah, those are the 4 series we're getting. I'll run through them real quick. Tenmaku Cinema by Shun Saeki and Yuto Tsukada. Those are the Shokugeki no Soma guys. After that, we're getting Kirureo by Tadatoshi Fujimaki, who is the Kuroko no Basket author. After that, we get Dry Try by Jun Kirarazaka. That's the post-war boxing series. And then finally, we get Nue no Onmyoji by Kawae Court, which only released a one-shot, brand new. That is a Yokai School Battle, dangerously generic series. Any other last thoughts on the 4 new series we're getting? The things that they will be replacing to be canceled in Weekly Shonen Jump there.
Yeah, so okay, make your prediction. Which one gets the axe first? Without knowing anything.
Without knowing anything, I absolutely think the last one. I think generic. I think we have seen in the time that I've been paying and reading a lot of attention to WSJ the last 2.5 years. Generic is bad. Nothing generic has stuck, right? Aliens Arena felt pretty generic to me. Dororon was generic. Tokyo Demon Bride was generic. I think anything that hits the generic stuff does not last. So I think Nue no Onmyoji, the last one, Yokai School Battle, that sounds generic. I don't think that one lasts.
Yeah,
What about you?
That is a good call because boring is worse than bad.
Boring is worse than bad. Yep.
I'm gonna say Dry Try. Just based off of post-war boxing series, I don't know what that means, and I can't. It's like really hard in my brain to give that a charitable read.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't get it, but I would love to be proven wrong. I do like Bone Collection's character designs, so who knows? Might be cool.
Might be good. Yeah. So we will be covering those as they come out. So it won't be the next episode. It'll be the one after. So you'll get it that episode. April 13th or 14th, you'll see that episode come up. If you're looking for us to cover the first of those, the Tenmaku Cinema. And then week after that, and then 3 weeks later, and then 4 weeks after that. So yeah, those are coming out. One last thing to cap off our news, which I thought was an interesting thing I saw on Twitter. We read for a month or two the series Sonda by Beastars creator Paru Itagaki.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember Sonda? This is a series about a boy with the powers of Santa Claus who has amnesia and like awakens the powers and fights people who want the powers of Santa. Is that correct enough?
Yeah, and the main girl wants to kill Santa.
Yes, but she's on Santa's side. It is weird. Beastars to me is sort of a generic premise with like one twist on it. There's animals and the meat eaters eat the plant eaters. The carnivores eat the herbivores, and that is interesting. And there was some interesting drama from there.
Yeah, Beastars is very good. Just because it had really solid character writing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I liked what I've read of it, and I want to go watch the series because I like Studio Orange. Sonda is just this batshit. One of the wildest things I've ever read. It's also just not very good, I don't think. I dropped it because I didn't like it.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Because none of the characters, unlike Beastars, none of the characters were likable. It was insane, of course, but I didn't find it very compelling or interesting to read, even if it was insane.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's on volume 8. So we've gotten
whoa.
2.5 years of Sanda by now.
Bro, what? That
Yeah.
was popular?
It is apparently popular. I think the name Paro
Oh.
Itagaki carries with it. I think the people who are fans of Beastars are willing to follow that author. I think it's a her. I don't remember. It could be a guy.
It is. She's the daughter. Didn't her dad make Ashita no Joe, that immensely
I was about to say
popular
Itagaki sounds like a thing. Paro Itagaki, daughter of manga artist Keisuke Itagaki, Grappler Baki.
Grappler Baki, okay.
Yes. Okay, well, we were just talking about Baki. So yeah, Baki the Grappler. Apparently did Tekken 5 design also. But anyways, yeah. So
that's a sweet dude. I bet he's a proud dad. Good for her.
Yeah, I mean, she's arguably more successful with Beastars than Baki ever was. Although Baki is kind of niche. But anyways, yeah, I thought I would call out that Sanda is still going, and it's, if you want something to be weird and wild and interesting, but maybe not that good, or if you really liked Beastars, check out Sanda. We're not going to check it out, but you can, if you think it gets better after 5 or 6 chapters, let us know. Cause the first couple chapters were not very good.
It had nothing I liked about Beastars in it. So
yeah.
I don't know. Read it and let us know what you think.
Yeah. I think actually the biggest part for me was that Itagaki's art for animals made sense when it was a little like off, right? It was kind of okay to have, weird humps and weird hair positions and kind of weird like arm, what's the word I'm looking for? Like people's bodies could be shaped weird because they were beasts, they were animals. Mm-hmm. So that was okay. The people in Sanda are also shaped weird and inconsistent, and it's not even a design thing, it's just a weird thing.
Well said. Yeah, they look like little alien guys,
Yeah, it's very strange. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a picture up on screen because I have to show you. I mean, yeah, let me just. So like these are humans, by the way, right? Like they just look weird. I don't know.
It's funny you had to preface it. Yeah, they look so weird. They look weirder than I remember. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and this is like a color page, right, where they get like more time and more details to sort of develop and draw a character. Yeah, it just didn't work for me. But anyways, if you're curious about it, check out Sanda. It's a weird one. Cool. That's the news, and that's the bulk of our podcast, but we're not done yet. Let's talk about some of the stuff that came out this past week. I want to talk about a new series called Service Wars. This is by an author named Tsuran Hatomune. They previously did a series called Mitama Security Spirit Busters. I remember hearing about this.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I ever read it, but the name sounds familiar. That ran in WSJ.
Yeah, it's pretty fast, but it's funny.
It got less than a year. I think it got maybe 10 months of publication. It ran, I think, in 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. Both of his previous works are gag manga. This is also a gag manga. This might have a little bit more of a battle style. Like this is on Jump Plus. I liked this. Now, the premise essentially is you've got this guy whose name. Let me see if I can remember his name. He had a really funny name that I think is a pun that not super important. But the essentially the main character is the perfect waiter, the perfect front of house service guy. He runs into a dying ramen shop, or is it soba shop maybe. It's a soba shop because they get the soba cold noodles.
But is it not a Chinese food place?
It's a Chinese food. Is it a Chinese food place?
I think so.
Chilled Chinese noodles. Yeah. Chilled Chinese noodles. Yes, that's it. But anyways, the whole gag is essentially he guesses what people need. He puts on a show. The restaurant gets super popular because he stands out there and eats the noodles out in front and all this stuff. It's really goofy. It also, my previous occupation for a little over 3 years was I was a professional chef. So I've interacted with I've interacted with front of house people, with waiters, with good waiters, with bad waiters, with diners, all different kinds of diners. And so this resonates with me probably a little bit more than a lot of people, but I thought this was goofy. I thought it was funny. I thought the art was dynamic and good and interesting. This is, to kind of connect it back to some other stuff we've talked about, this is filling a hole for me that Shokugeki no Soma left, right? Which is, where is the kind of fun play on food and the service industry, which is, I mean, the service industry in general is huge everywhere, right? There's tons of restaurants and there's tons of front of house people all around. I would guess that 30 to 40% of everyone everywhere, some of you have worked in a restaurant, either back of house, front of house. It's a pretty broad subject. It's a pretty broad experience that a lot of people have been through. And I'm surprised there's not more stories about it, because I think it appeals, speaking like, the high school experience as sort of a broad shared experience. I think working in the service industry is another pretty broad shared experience that you don't see a lot of writers go after, I think, because they maybe not necessarily look down on it, but they don't think it's interesting. But again, this is why I like things like Service Wars and like Shokugeki no Soma or Silver Spoon, I think, is another angle of approaching kind of the food service industry from the supplier's point of view that you just don't get many stories about. And I think those stories are easily relatable to a large handful of people who have that shared experience of working in a kitchen or as a server in a restaurant or those kinds of things. So if you're one of those people, go check out Service Wars. If you also like manga, I think it's goofy and it's fun. I see a lot of potential for this series. I hope it stays as goofy and fun as the first chapter was. I hope it can bury some good character stuff in there also. I think it already did in chapter 1. So yeah, it is just a gag manga probably, but I'm curious to see where it goes. Did you read this, Gautam, and what did you think of it?
Yep. I did. The main character is the exact same as the guy in the Spirit Busters manga.
Yeah.
Not the exact same character, but like, it's just the same character with a different name. He's just a complete fucking weirdo.
Right. Hyper-focused on his one area of expertise, I would assume.
And just acts bizarrely, But yeah, no, I thought it was funny. I thought it was good. I'm interested to see how long the goof holds, if not forever. Hopefully forever. Hopefully the author has some good jokes in here that don't feel repetitive. But I will say, I don't think this style of humor is for everyone.
Yeah,
I personally think it's good, but it does lean a little bit on the lol random side. So
I was zooming in. I don't know if you saw. I'm zooming in on who is that guy? He's trending, which to me is a hilarious gag to just like. Yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely not. It's not for everyone. It is a little bit. The humor is in the non sequiturness of the character of he just doing random things, but they turn out to be the best thing in the situation always. But yeah, sorry. Continue whatever you were saying.
Yeah, no, that was about it. It's that type of humor, so it's not for everyone. So if you have like a disdain for kind of wacky random humor hijinks, then you won't like it.
Yeah,
but if you're cool with it, give it a shot. I think it has a strong first chapter, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah. I don't think it's not quite as lol random as like internet jokes in 2009, but it is more of a modern twist on it, I guess you could say.
Let me tell you, it's close. It's close.
There's a little bit of
it.
The
difference is it's funny. The difference is I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's actually funny, and it has just enough context to not be lol random, right? This is not, God, what was the Reddit thing like 10 years ago? It was like, does the narwhal bacon at midnight? Do you ever part of that?
I didn't need to remember that.
I hate saying it out loud. Yeah. I know, I'm cringing. I'm sweating. I'm like legitimately sweating. I'm cringing so hard. It is not that bad. But if you work in the service industry, if you like Shokugeki no Soma, Silver Spoon, if you're interested in that kind of food service jokes, stuff like that, I think this is a great series. I'm excited. I hope people in the West keep translating it. Or no, this is on Jump Plus, so we're getting this from Manga Plus. So we should be getting this until it's canceled. So, I'm keeping an eye on that. Service Wars. Anything else to say about that?
Nope. Looking forward to the next chapter, though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gautam, you brought something from across the pond, across Japan's pond. What did you bring this week?
Yeah, it's called Reincarnation of the Suicidal Battle God. It's a manhwa. And yeah, it sounds like the same shitty title that most manhwa have. They're all about reincarnation and going back in time and fixing your past
And
wrongs.
fantasy tropes and stuff like that. Yeah.
And fantasy tropes. It's
Yeah.
like a battle shonen type thing. Yeah, I think it is fucking solid. I think there are a million of these.
There's so many of these.
A million billion. It's almost like I don't even know. It's like isekai is permanently trending.
It is
in Korea, or reincarnation stories.
It is the reincarnation story for manhwa is very much in vogue and has been for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Much the same as isekai is for anime and manga. So yeah.
And yeah, this one, it starts kind of similarly to most of them. The difference is it doesn't have any source material, so it's not off like.
I think that's a good start generally, but yeah.
It is, yeah. And the art is solid. And I think there's so many of these, but so few that do it very well. And I think this is one of the ones that does it very well. Yeah, look at this mushroom guy. This mycelium knight.
Yeah.
He looks fucking sick.
I mean, that's cool. I'm already noticing the art here is better than a lot of stuff, and also more. I'm trying to think of how to describe the art I'm looking at. It's a little bit less clean lined, I guess I would say, and more rough edged. Which I think is a good decision for these authors. I notice a lot of manhwa is like, tell me if you've noticed this too. A lot of manhwa tries to be super clean with their lines and colors, right? They try to be very kind of bold, solid filled in stuff. Stuff here is a little bit rougher, which I think is good and makes it look more interesting. I'm looking at like the top of this Mushroom Knight guy. Is the lines there are kind of unclean and good, and his hand and arm, these are not perfectly drawn lines. They aren't perfectly shadowed. They aren't perfectly single color filled in like I see a lot of manhwa do. And also there's a background on every single one of these pictures you gave, so there's no empty backgrounds, which is another one of my big complaints about manhwa, especially the action heavy ones, is that a lot of times they just stop drawing the background and it's just white or an empty color. This one has not done that. Oh, this last page does kind of have an empty background, but there's also a lot of art occupying it. So,
yeah.
I mean, it looks generic as hell. I haven't read it, so I'm looking at this and I'm going, this looks like every other manhwa I've ever glanced at. So
yeah, and at the beginning, I'd say like the first 9 chapters, it feels pretty generic.
Mm-hmm.
Or it feels like it'll potentially continue being generic. I think the main character is nuanced and well written. I think a lot of the characters are. It has a lot of unique twists and turns, and I like competent main characters that don't feel like invincibly omnipotent.
Yeah.
But like they still fail. They still like run into unexpected situations, but you can tell they're highly competent. I think that's a good way to write a character. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of manga and manhwa tend to make a Kirito type where they have no flaws, you know?
Yeah, I think the perfectly competent character is an incredibly difficult character to write successfully. I think there's only a couple of instances where I can say it's worked. I think Saitama from One Punch Man is one of the few times it works. I mean, I would just, as a point of comparison to another manhwa, I would say the main character of Solo Leveling is a character who is written essentially after he gets his power up as nearly perfectly competent, and he's not a very good character, right? He's just perfectly competent. He doesn't have anything else going for him. In general,
he has no flaws, right? Like he's just perfect.
And
and he doesn't say he doesn't say anything. He like I think Solo Leveling's main character isn't the appeal, of course, like we talked about. It's the art.
It kind of is the appeal because the power fantasy is the appeal, but yeah, there's no character writing really to speak of around him. I think we've talked about this on the pod before, but I like to think about characters as sort of three-pronged, 3 kind of levels you can adjust, and competency is one of those, and the other 2 would be proactivity and sympathy. So a perfect character is one where they are perfectly competent, which is the one that a lot of people try to lean into, right? They can overcome any battle they're in. They're the solo leveling guy. They're this dude. They're Light Yagami, right, is an example of a perfectly competent character. He essentially always is 3 steps ahead of everyone who he comes up against until the very end. Spoilers. But then sympathy is how much is a character kind of likable, or do they do good things? Light Yagami has a low. The reason Light Yagami is a good character who's nearly perfectly competent is because he has low sympathy, right? He's not a good person. A lot of these guys and all these stories they're just straight good people. They're just the best people ever. And then the last one of those little ones is proactivity, which is how often do they go out, they take charge, they do what needs to be done. This is why Saitama's an interesting character. Saitama doesn't really go and do anything. He does when he's forced to, when his hand is forced, but he kind of just wants to sit around and not really do his job, right? He's not going around looking for fights. He is not super proactive. He's kind of a lazy character, which is one of the reasons that makes him interesting as a hyper-competent character, is turning down one of those other character traits. So what I've noticed in manhwa is essentially that you get hyper-powerful characters who are all good or nearly all good, and they also just always go and do the thing that they need to do. They're hyper-proactive, they're hyper-competent, and they're hyper-sympathetic in the way that sympathetic means they are going and doing good things, or you feel they are a good person, a well-meaning person, that type of thing. So yeah, and that's generally the hardest character to write, is someone who is hyper good at all 3 of those things. I can hardly think of a character who is really high in all 3 of those things that is a good character. Like Superman might be the only one, and not every instance of Superman qualifies for that. So
Yep. And I think this character is interesting because he fills that competency, but he does morally great things for the betterment of humanity, which, if written in a different light, could be a villain maneuver. But
which is more interesting already in the character. So
right, I think aside from this edgy look, it makes sense. He doesn't always have this, but he got it. But aside from this edgy look, I think what this story actually succeeds at is telling a good one. And that's rare. In power fantasies, you're not there for the story, and
no, not really.
It's very rare that the story is actually good. Usually, it's just in general service of the power fantasy itself. But this one feels like it has a world, like a solid world-building foundation, and the narrative is actually compelling. So, if you want a manhwa to read that is like Solo Leveling but better, it's this one.
Cool. That's pretty high praise, because I know a lot of people like Solo Leveling. That's probably the most popular manhwa here in the West. Maybe Tower of God is above it, but yeah.
I think Solo Leveling dwarfed everything.
Yeah, Solo Leveling was very popular. One of the first, yeah. And Solo Leveling was really good. That's another anime that's coming later that I think we talked about last week, because it got a trailer last week.
Speaking of competency, my issue with Tower of God is that Bam was more interesting when he was weak.
Yes. I think that again is those 3 levels, right? He was weak, but he was hyper sympathetic. He's very kind and good, and he was fairly proactive. Actually, it was kind of maybe even low proactivity. Proactivity is the weirdest one of those, where having it super high or low doesn't affect it so much until you turn one of the other dials up. But yeah, the main I don't know. I don't like I don't like Tower of God. I thought the writing, it was discovery writing, which we've talked about in the past, right? Discovery versus planning writing, right? Planned writing plans out a world, plans out a story, writes knowing what the ending is. Discovery writing doesn't know where it's going, discovers it along the way. Neither of those are inherently better than the other. I generally do not jive with discovery writing as much. Tower of God is a discovery written series. I can almost guarantee you from reading it and experiencing it, either makes up magic rules on the fly. Something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a series that's also discovery written, for better or for worse. Sometimes it leads to really fun, exciting things. Sometimes it's a little meandering, but
yeah, even if it is discovery writing, I think Tower of God has a more interesting world than like 95% of things I read.
It definitely has a unique. It definitely didn't go typical high fantasy. It has a cool, unique world. I don't fault it for that. I do fault it for occasionally just introducing a new part of the world to handle a plot thing they introduced in the same chapter that was never for, the thing that The thing that Discovery writing is missing for me is foreshadowing, which it is nearly impossible to foreshadow what's going to happen in 20, 30, 40 chapters if you don't know what you're going to write in 5 or 10. So you miss that kind of edge of that planning writing has. Something that is like expertly planning written is something like Attack on Titan, right? From the first chapter, the end of the series references the very first chapter written because that series was planned out expertly, right? That is a series that has been expertly planned. Even something like One Piece, I would say, is pretty planned out in advance. I think there's a lot of Discovery writing in One Piece from moment to moment, but it's planned out on a large scale, which I think a lot of writing is more that kind of writing. You plan out, you know where you want to go, you know some big moments, and then you discover kind of how to get there along the way. And I think that's the kind of series that One Piece is. Attack on Titan is kind of, let me see if I can do this on my camera. Attack on Titan is far on this side over here of planning writing, and then something like JoJo's is way over here on Discovery writing. One Piece is kind of somewhere in the middle, maybe more off towards planned, but
I would put it far in the planned category because there's so much foreshadowing and so many payoffs.
Yeah,
I think it is impossible to plan One Piece out completely. It just physically, by how aging works, it can't be done.
yeah.
I'd agree with that. Aside from that, I'd say this is probably my second favorite manhwa, and my first is Omniscient Reader Viewpoint.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, I think. So I need to check out more manhwa. I haven't been getting the style of them generally doesn't appeal to me as much, and I haven't liked any of them that I've read all that much. So which is like Tower of God, Real Life, and Solo Leveling. So maybe those are the only 3 I've read. So I'm not super experienced in manhwa.
You want me to tell you something, Bruce?
Yeah.
You see this picture in front of you right now?
Yep.
I rotated it.
Yes, because I was sure that you did. Yeah. Because
it was vertical. It was vertical before this.
Yeah. So just in case someone doesn't know, we're talking about manhwa. That's MANWHA or WA. Can be spelled either way. Those are Korean internet comics. They are not Korean manga because Korean manga are different. Manga are published in a book. Manhwa are intended to be read on a cell phone, I would say, is kind of a core element of the genre. So yeah, all of the cool spreads, quote unquote, that you would see in a manga that would take up 2 pages are rotated and long and skinny. So I don't like that visually. There's some cool stuff in Solo Leveling, but no one really. My problem with it, and you can tell me if you agree or not, my problem with it is nobody actually uses the verticality of the long picture. They just draw a horizontal image and flip it, and I think that's stupid. So,
yeah, they do that every time. You're right.
Use the medium you are working in to make your art better. If it's a this is what I was expecting from Tower of God, which I think was part of the letdown, was like, oh, a tower is the perfect setting for a manhwa because it is a vertical image that you are constantly scrolling. There should be tons of cool vertical imagery to be put in, and then Tower of God just goes, nah, there's rooms inside, and it's just normal, whatever. I totally did away with it, so.
I think they should have made the tower horizontal as a goof. Just as a fun little Easter egg gag, just to piss you off.
I'm not even gonna address that. That feels that frustrates me in a way that is hard to describe.
Yeah, the last time I've been that frustrated is when I heard you say the narwhal bacon, and you reminded me that Reddit said that at one point. Which is baffling to me that anyone can find it funny. It's just like, how is that created?
I don't know. It's what's even worse is Reddit was better when the narwhal baconed at midnight, and I said that out loud. All right, let's talk about Frieren.
Not better.
Frieren. I've forgotten the title of this. Beyond Journey's End is a Western title. Frieren at the Funeral is what I like to call it because I think that's a cooler title. Frieren returned last week, but we did not discuss it. So we're 2 chapters in after a return from a hiatus where I think the author probably went to go work with the anime studio, do some consulting with them. I'm assuming that, but that happens often. Frieren has traveled into the future. This is chapter 109. The past. Frieren has traveled into the past from the future. They're doing a little battle with this demon guy, and she's trying not to reveal that she essentially has 100 extra years of magic learning, and she can fly in the future, and she's not supposed to know how to fly. She can use Soul Track, which is apparently faster and mana efficient or something, so she shouldn't be able to use it now. No, if she uses it now, it's possible they would learn about it, know about it, and change the results of the war. She kind of thinks about that. So really interesting 2 chapters here. A lot of kind of setup for the story. I assume this is going to be a decently long arc, it feels like. But yeah, how do you feel about these sort of this time travel trope, these Frieren kind of not using magic and seeing the original heroes party in action?
Everything about this chapter hit. And here's my reason for it. She's using the old magic and she's not flying because she doesn't want to change the timeline or fuck it up. You couldn't fly in the past, like you said, and she's using this fire magic, which she considers slow, because Soul Track is that from like the early chapters that one demon invented it. It bypasses all defense and instantly kills things. Yes. And in the future, they have a defense
like
for it.
Instant fast. It's like extremely fast.
It's like a gun. It's like using a gun.
It is kind of, yeah. Now that you say that, it is kind of like all of these old magic in this time are using like bows and arrows, maybe like a black powder musket or something. And yeah, and Frieren has Soul Track, which is just like just like a 9mm gun or something. Like it's
like
so easy to kill with Soul Track.
Exactly, like a wooden shield could block an arrow, but if you pull out your Glock, you're not going to block that with a wooden shield. And yeah, so that is basically the onus of it. She is with her old party members who are all dead in the future because of aging. And they see through her like immediately. They know her too well. They know that she's holding back. And at the end of the chapter, she has to just say, "Hey, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone about this." I thought the demon's power was also cool. His power was that in the previous chapter, he teleported Frieren into the air in hopes to kill her because mages can't fly yet.
Yeah, well, he said, I think, was it maybe at the beginning of this chapter, he said, like, oh, he teleported her, like a mile up in the sky and is like, assume I have her hostage. I can bring her back or something if you want. But yeah, I guess he has the power just to teleport things he touches wherever he wants, which is cool.
Yep. Teleport what he touches and himself, apparently. Awesome, crazy power. He teleports like a huge part of the mountain, as you see in this panel.
Yeah, which is, I thought this is a cool visual, right? To just have him like touch the mountain and teleport a big chunk of it away.
And yeah, it turns out Frieren, her party's like, hey, she's like, why aren't you guys freaking out? And she's like, oh, you're gonna deal with that, right? Like, you're clearly holding back. And she's like, okay, don't tell anyone. I'll deal with it.
I do.
And she just blows it up and flies and soul tracks this dude. Just pulls out her pistol, caps him, just a drive-by on this dude.
I like, one of the things I like about this chapter the most is that so it's really hard. We're going to talk about writing the rest of the time today. It's really hard in writing to separate what you know as an author from what your characters know. And oftentimes that'll slip in, right? So the author here knows that Frieren is time traveling, that Frieren is too powerful, and the author does not let that slip into its character's thoughts. The character's thoughts are just, Frieren's been keeping secrets from us. She's always been like that. She's always been reserved. Clearly something else is going on. She has some secret related to this. And so when they call her out, they don't go, the author doesn't let this sort of larger secret slip in. It kind of plays the secret from the character's point of view, which I think is just, like we've seen with Frieren, is incredibly good writing, incredibly good character writing. And it's just golf clap, kudos for that, for the characters being able to call out that something was different and wrong with Frieren without them being like, are you really our Frieren? You aren't acting like her. Instead just saying, seems like you're keeping a secret, you're cutting off, you should be honest with us, you have to be honest with us, you can do something about this, right? And I'll just like, it just works out in the nicest way.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, that's a good call out. It is good writing, and more good writing is, in addition to what you mentioned, is that it explains exactly why they know she's a little different than usual.
Mhm.
Like she shoots a fireball to mitigate damage, right? Like to as a support fireball.
Right. Yeah.
And Himmel's like instantly, he's like, oh, she doesn't usually do that, you know. Himmel is incredibly perceptive as well, which I think
Mhm.
is I don't know. They do a good job establishing these characters because it's incredibly believable that they know each other so well, and it's also charming that they know each other so
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Like I think they're innately likable within one chapter of a fight and some discussion. You
Yeah.
know?
And I think you pointed out, maybe was it last week's chapter, where you noticed that Himmel noted like all of these really detailed things about Frieren coming back and being different and the situation they were in and the demon and all that stuff.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
which again, like you pointed out, is really cool. In reading, sometimes I'm trying to think how to say this. I have to ask myself why. I have to ask myself why this in the story now. Why reintroduce essentially and reattach the reader to these characters who two of which we know are already dead. Why are we, and why is Frieren going back to experience this? I have some predictions, but the truth is I'm not sure. Part of me wants to say that Frieren, the character, needs to experience this because this is pretty broad meta discussion about the whole of Frieren. So if you aren't caught up, you might be a little lost here. But it's clear to me, and I think you and I have discussed this a lot, Gautam, that the story of Frieren is about Frieren being more open and being more willing to be attached to people with shorter lifespans than she has, in order to spend more fulfilling time with them overall. And that comes off the back of, in the first chapter or two, her losing the hero Himmel and the other guy whose name I am now forgetting.
The priest.
The
Too,
priest
yeah.
guy, yeah. Those two are dead by the end of chapter 1, I want to say. And she essentially never got to tell the hero Himmel that she was in love with him, right? And she was, just because, she was not open enough and did not know, and maybe didn't want to commit to spending time with someone who had a shorter lifespan. But all of that to say, it's clear to me that the journey of Frieren is going from, I am essentially an immortal who's lived for thousands of years, and I'm not going to be attached to humans, to I missed my chance with one group of humans, and I will not miss my current chance, is where she's growing towards, right? And I think that journey with Fern and the other axe guy, that's the journey we're on right now. So I am wondering, okay, if we kind of are introduced to Frieren in her regret from losing these characters, that she's around now, and I don't know what angle the author is going for reintroducing and reattaching us to these characters, and I don't know what Frieren is going to get out of this, and I don't know what we're going to get out of this, but I'm excited to find out.
I have kind of an opinion on what I think it is.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And just one small correction. So, some actually people don't freak out. The priest guy dies when she, like, of old age in like chapter 5, when she gets Fern. When she adopts
Yeah, okay.
Fern.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but it's the very start of the series.
Yeah, you were right either way. He dies of old age as well.
They both do, right? Him, the hero, and
the priest,
the old guy. They both just die of old age. So
yeah, they just die of old age.
I mean, the whole premise of the series is these group of 4 people that you see here that she's time traveled back into. They defeated the Dark Lord, and it's like 50 years later, and that's chapter 1 of Frieren. So, and Frieren is an elf, and she hasn't aged, and the other, the dwarf also doesn't age, or ages a lot slower, but the other 2 are humans, and they're dead or dying. So,
yep. And yeah, I think you're spot on with her new party. She's trying to make good memories. Like, even though she did it the first time around, she didn't value them and treasure them as much because she is an elf and lives to regret that. God, that sounded like a Dharma video. She lives to regret it. No. So I think the motivation behind going to the past is her ultimate goal in this series and what they're working towards at the moment is to see Hero Himmel's like ghost in the spirit realm, and so she could spend time with him and send him off properly. I think going back to the past is to characterize these guys a bit more, so there's more emotional resonance for the audience to get behind that goal.
Yep.
Because at the moment you have one chapter and some flashbacks of all the heroes' party, so I think this serves as just characterization and character development for them. The one concern I have, or not concern, is like this is going to be tricky. Is how is her going back to the past? Like, how do you write that without invalidating her ultimate goal of treasuring her moments with Himmel when she's doing that right now, right?
Right.
And I have no idea, but this author is really talented, a better writer than me. Yeah, so same. I'm sure they will deliver.
Yeah, I think you've hit sort of on my main question there too, which is if this was the climax of the story and the final event was she's teleported back and gets to spend time with them, I would kind of predictably, I think, know what was going to happen, right? She'll tell the truth. She'll bear her feelings because she didn't get a chance to. That's what'll happen because that is the character growth of Frieren, right? From keeping secrets and not being honest with herself and letting her party die before she can tell them how she feels to getting a chance to tell them how she feels in the past. I think that's why this feels like such a tricky situation, is because part of me wants that catharsis of, well, in a perfect cathartic release, the next chapter, Frieren just says, like, I love you, Himmel. I've always loved you. You died. I'm from the future. I'm so sorry. I'm going to value people, blah, 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 right? You just kind of get that. You get that kind of release of she's grown. She's changed from chapter 1. She's arrived at ready and willing to be honest. But all of that being said, I don't think this is the end of Frieren. I don't think we're anywhere close. I think so. Yeah, we're in this weird, unique middle position. So that's why I think I have all these questions. I think we both do kind of, okay, how is this going to be handled and what is the point of it? And I don't want to say what is the point of it in like a negative rhetorical way. Like, what's the point? More of a serious question. Like, why are we here with Frieren and what is she going to learn or get out of this experience? I guess what I'm really curious about is what character growth or character push are we going to get? I assume actually that there might just be 1 or 2 more chapters of her talking with the party and she'll pose some hypothetical question and they'll tell her and she'll go back and she'll value Fern and the Axe Kid more or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's so curious and interesting to do this kind of at this point of the story. But I'm with you. I trust the author to do it well because the author has not miswritten a single time. I don't think Frieren is an amazingly written series. So.
Yeah, and I guarantee you though, Frieren still doesn't understand romantic love. Like, I'm sure she loves Himmel and the rest of her party, but I am positive she does not understand that about herself. And Himmel proposed already.
I think so. Yeah, and I think she doesn't
with the ring. She didn't get the meaning.
She doesn't really understand it in the way. Yeah, so. Yeah, we'll see. That's really interesting to point out that you don't think she'll understand romantic love. That might be what the arc is about, because we've kind of been shown that maybe she does understand it now more, but that just kind of informs her regret in the present time. So, curious.
It's hard to describe. I think she feels it. I think she feels romantic love, but I don't think she understands or defines that, because she cared about the ring he gave, like the crappy little ring that he gave her forever ago. She had to go searching a forest for it. And it's not like a magical trinket or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's just, so yeah, I'm kind of curious as well, like you said, just to see what her growth coming out of this is.
Yeah, super. I'm always paying attention to Frieren. One of the best things every week. So glad it's back. And yeah, I think the curiosity and the investment that clearly both of us, and I think a lot of other people already have in this arc, is testament to already good writing. All of the setup and work that we've referenced all the way back to chapter 1 of Frieren about, how important the hero's party and that journey was to informing where her character starts and to go back to it. I mean, good ideas are a dime a dozen. I've said that, but like this is a good idea to put in the story, and it's intriguing enough, even though nothing has really happened yet, and it's well written enough to keep going. Yeah, I can't sing the praises of Frieren enough. It's one of the best things. I think we voted it best writing or best arc in our award show at the end of the year last year. So,
I think it was the Mock to Eldorado arc.
Right, which is super good.
Phenomenal.
Super good arc. Yeah, you could probably go and read. You could go and read that without knowing much else about the series and probably understand it. They're gonna make that. Here's bold prediction: Mock to Eldorado will be adapted as a movie. In I don't know 3 years, 4 years. It'll be super big. But
you know what? A good prediction, and as it should be. Give it a budget, man.
Yeah, I mean, can't praise Frieren enough. Super interested, super curious where it's going. Any last thoughts on Frieren before we move on to our extra stuff?
No, like you said, it is phenomenal. Go read it.
Yeah. Yep. Frieren is good. So that's it for Manga Talk. Let's just go over some of the other stuff that we've been doing or consuming this week. Gautam, you saw John Wick 4, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. It was great. I think the story was complete nonsense.
Okay, well, that's the same as the other three then.
Yeah, well, I thought the story in one was pretty good for an action movie, especially. But
it's a pretty bare bones story, but it serves the purpose in one. Yeah.
I think this one was just like the other, like 2 and 3 it was convoluted and silly. But who cares when this just had the best action choreography of any movie I've ever seen in my life.
Really? Do you think this is better than the other John Wicks even? Because I mean, the choreography in 1 and 2, I think, is some of the best fight choreography I've seen in a movie ever. Especially outside of Hong Kong and China, who the Hong Kong action I think is great, the Jackie Chan style.
It is. I've seen a lot of kung fu movies too, and this does beat 2 and 3 to answer your question. Like,
wow. Okay.
It is. I think some of the cooler, like my favorite, like takedowns were in 3, but the overall, this just has the best action I've ever seen.
Yeah. So I have not seen 3, which is why I didn't go see this with you, which is totally fine. Because I'm thinking in 2, the shotgun hallway was really good. But I mostly remember from John Wick 1 the like dance club fight. That was a really good one. Oh, and then in 2, I remember the silenced guns in the train station and the pencil. That's another big one. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to remember. And the car at the start of 2 is also like a great scene.
There are a million of those moments in 4. Yeah. My favorite one was in 3 when he uses like a minute and a half of screen time putting together this old World War pistol and uses it for one shot and one kill, and then he's done with it.
That's so good.
That was really
I need
fun.
to watch 3 and I need to go see 4 because they're fun and they're good movies. How would you rank them? Rank all 4 movies in order of your favorite to your least favorite.
This used to be a funnier answer when there were 3 because it was 1, 2, then 3.
Yeah.
Now it is 1, 4, 2, 3.
Okay, cool. So 4 is just better than 2 and 3, and you think, but not as good as 1.
Yeah, and I only think 1 is the best because it had the most cohesive story.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with 1 and 2. But because I mean they both have good action. It's hard to be like, well, the action just got even better. It's sort of like it's the same good action, just different set pieces, different fun stuff thrown on top. But cool.
I don't know how to say this, but the action did get even better.
I mean, they have more budget, is what you're telling me, probably. Is they have more money to do cool things with their genius choreographic brains.
Yeah, that was like a 3-hour movie, Bruce, and it felt like 90% of it was action.
I mean, that's how the others have been, right? It's like he walks into the hotel once and talks to a guy for 5 minutes, and the rest of the movie is action, pretty much.
One critic did say that it felt like Keanu Reeves delivered his lines in this movie like he learned to speak English for the first time.
I mean,
and I would agree. It was bizarre, his delivery in this movie.
I love Keanu Reeves. I think he is a wonderful person. I think he is a shining light of goodness in a place, Hollywood, that is not always full of good people. I do not think Keanu Reeves is a very good actor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything I've seen him in where I've gone, wow, Keanu Reeves, even where he has disappeared into a role, right? So there's kind of levels of good acting. There's like, disappearing into a role, you don't notice him, whatever. Every time I see Keanu Reeves, I go, wow, that's Keanu Reeves. Wow, he's not a very good actor. What is it? The 1990s Dracula movie is one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, yeah.
I think his best acting role was actually Bill and Ted.
I was about to say, I legitimately think Bill and Ted, or like maybe Speed, is the best acting Keanu Reeves has ever done.
Yeah.
I like him as Constantine. If you've ever seen the Constantine movie, I think he does a pretty decent job at that character.
Do you know Donnie Yen?
Yes, I do know Donnie Yen.
Yeah, he's an antagonist in this movie.
Ooh, okay. He's a great action guy.
He is such a show stealer. Is
Donnie Yen in Hero? Who's in? Have you ever seen that movie Hero? I don't think that's Donnie Yen, is it?
I thought you were talking about the TV show, and I was like, that's racist.
Donnie Yen.
No, I don't know. I haven't seen that. Weirdly,
yes, he is in Hero. Okay, my suggestion for you, if you haven't seen the movie Hero from 2002, go watch it. That is one of the coolest kung fu movies I have ever seen. It's maybe actually the best kung fu movie like ever. It's so good. It has Tony Leung, who was the dad in Shang-Chi. He's in it. I've
seen this. I just don't remember anything about it. Yeah. I've seen it I think every Jet Li movie.
I'm trying to remember what the premise of it is. He like tells stories about his fights with all these like different colored situations. It's very kind of like, how do I even describe it? Like middle fantasy, where it's like it's a guy telling stories, so you don't know if the sort of creativity and magic of it is in his storytelling or if it's reality or not. I don't know. Hero's a really cool movie. But yeah, Donnie Yen's he's an action hero. So
he's great. He plays a character named Kane, and he is a blind man, and he's named that because he has a cane that he fights with.
There you go. That sounds like John Wick writing to me. What do we name the guy with a cane? Kane?
Yeah, and it's weird because he also played a blind character in Rogue One. So I don't know why they're typecasting him as blind characters. I will say, final thought on John Wick. Every fucking assassin in this movie is just a theater kid from high school. Right. There are so many theatrics where they could be killing each other. They're like, there are two different kinds of men in this world.
Oh, monologuing?
It is so much of that, and at the very beginning of the movie, one of the assassin leader guys, he gives another character a deadline of 1 hour to go report somewhere, and instead of just saying, hey, you have 1 hour, he's been lugging around this briefcase, which he opens up, and it has a gigantic hourglass.
He's got a clock in it. Yeah, an hour. Yeah.
An hourglass that it's like 20 pounds of sand he's just carrying just for this bit, just for this prop. He's using it as a prop. Yep. It's so funny and goofy. Really good movie.
The showmanship of it sounds great. That sounds like a good John Wick ride. Anything else on John Wick there?
Nah. That's about it.
I have been reading a seinen dark fantasy manga series called The Witch and the Beast. This is by Kosuke Satake. This series is really good. I generally won't bring something here that's not very good, so keep that in mind. There's selection bias here, because if I read a lot of stuff and only one of them's good, that's what I'm bringing to the podcast. This series is about these two characters who are on the cover here, who work for kind of like a secret magic agency that hunts witches and other things. Witches are kind of like are generally like the big bads of the world. Magic is decently well known about. There's like a group called the Paladins, who are like magic police who usually handle witches. These guys are more of like undercover secret, not really secret police, but more like secret agent types. But they have cool powers. Interesting. It sounds kind of shonen-y when I describe it, like, oh, they find a witch and they fight her, but it's like really character focused, really dark, really intense, lots of cool dark fantasy imagery with like bats and werewolves, and the magic stuff is really cool. And the two main characters have great interplay, which I think really makes the series work. The girl is like, I don't know what she is exactly. She has fangs and is very strong and is maybe some kind of magical entity whose power is being held back by the guy. The guy is also magically talented, but he has not called himself a witch or a wizard or a mage or anything like that. So they're pretty shrouded in mystery, but the way that they talk to each other, the girl's kind of the firebrand character, and the guy's much more calm, cool-headed, stay back. So they play off each other a lot really well, and really it's just episodic stories kind of around these two or other people going and confronting different witches that all usually have kind of other characters they bring in that have little character arcs and stuff. But it's really well written. I think it has really nice art, pretty decent action paneling, really cool dark fantasy style. This is, if you're a fan of Berserk and Claymore and stuff like that, this is more modern, sort of modern styled fantasy, but it is kind of just dark fantasy styled in more of a modern way. Really good. Can't recommend it enough. Gonna keep reading it. I believe this is finished publication maybe 2 years ago, maybe last year. I think it ended in 2021. It's maybe 8 volumes total. No, it's like 10 volumes total. I think I've read through maybe 3 or 4 of them. So yeah, just a really cool, really good dark fantasy seinen, like a nice adult series that's really well written and has cool action and cool world building and cool magic effects and that kind of dark fantasy gritty vibe that, I feel like everyone is kind of looking for that after Berserk. And it's hard to find good seinen that have, like, good action in it, right? Like, most of the good action nowadays is in shonen, I would say, like the 99% of it. So, to get a seinen with like good character writing, good, interesting kind of world building, good characters, I already said that, but I'll say it again because they're really good characters, and good, cool action and interesting magic. It's a really good series. I'm really excited to keep reading it and finish it.
Presumably, from your description, he is the witch and she is the beast, right?
I don't know. All of the witches in the story so far for me have been women, and all of the witches that have been described have been women or girls. So that they only, maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 chapters in, and they only a couple chapters ago finally said like, oh, by the way, witches are descended from these 12 bloodlines of these original witches, blah, blah, blah. So I very much think he could be a witch. He has never described himself as that. No one else has ever called him that. He does have magical powers, but we have seen other people with magical powers that are not witches. So yeah, I don't know. I think you're probably right. I think the twist reveal end might be something like, oh, he's a witch, even though they're witch hunters, and she's the beast. She is clearly the beast, I would say. Although maybe not. Maybe she's a witch and he's the beast. It's reversal, but
the Fang's a fiery personality sounds like she's the beast, and I think like the implication the witch and the beast implies it's the two of them, right? Like one of them is one of them.
Yeah, I mean the sort of initial kind of overarching plot is that she's trying to find a witch, because if she finds the witch who placed this curse on her that makes her strong and beast-like, if she kills that witch, that curse goes away. So that's kind of her driving force. But there's like another, it's it's not super focused on this overarching plot. But they also kind of bring up that like, oh, or they can find another witch who, if they're nice and good, could cast a spell to reverse it or something. So the witch and the beast could be about her and the witch who originally cast the spell on her. Maybe that's the overarching plot for the end. Maybe he's the one who did it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to see if I can find like, yeah, I mean, this will probably sell more of you on the series than that picture, because it's just like, that's the main character. That's one of the two main characters. And she's very cool designed. It has a very cool modern dark fantasy look.
Oh, she's 100% the beast, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. More than
so not to be witchist, but like witches curse people a lot.
Yeah, the witches in this series have been almost all bad. I think we just met like the first like not bad witch, and she still was not like totally good. She was just kind of more neutral. So
but it's like it all feels so petty, right? Like it's like instead of just killing this girl, they're like, I'm gonna give you feral tendencies, but also give you superpowers, and you have to live with that. Fuck you later.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's
It's like
in
witches are all just petty.
yeah, I mean, in standard dark fantasy fashion, there's a lot that has not been explained that may not be explained. It is kind of leaving it up. A lot of it. It is I would say, a very soft magic system. It isn't hard to find rules. Although they've defined some of the rules, like necromancy is like a thing you can just do. Like if your loved one dies and there is a magic user who knows a necromancer, you can just go and pay them to revive your loved one, and they will stick around. And you have to like take them in for maintenance. But that was like the last plot. Like two of the last stories I read were just about just like unlicensed necromancy, and a guy like made too many copies and they went wild, and then this other witch has to like go in, or this other necromancer has to go in and be like, your necromancy is bad, I'll show you how to really do necromancy. And she has they literally call them death knights, which I don't think that's trademarked by Blizzard, but yeah, the good, quote unquote good necromancer and her death knights come. And yeah, I mean, it's just really cool and interesting. Like it's just a really neat angle on dark fantasy, sort of like it feels sort of like 1920s to 40s, like setting dark fantasy. There's cars and it's modern, but not, 2023 modern. It's modern age of modernity, the modern art style, right? Modern art started in 1850 or something. So it is in that age, but yeah, it's really good. I cannot recommend it enough. Very, very good series.
It says like Industrial Revolution era.
Yeah, but
manga?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's cars. You can see here that it's like, yeah, there's buildings. There's a Zeppelin in the background, but yeah, so not cell phones, but modern age, early 20th century, I guess I would say. But it's a fantasy world, so it isn't completely analogous. But yeah, I recommend that. That's the Witch and the Beast by Kosuke Satake.
That seems cool. It seems like a good read, honestly. I might check it out.
Give the first couple chapters a read, and yeah, it's very good. I think once you get through the first sort of like multi-chapter arc, which is maybe like chapters like 5 to 9 or something like that, it's like that's what hooked me, because the first couple chapters are kind of on their own, and then you get to like a big 3 or 4 chapter arc, and it's like, yeah, that's really good. And then the last 2 arcs have been like 8 or 9 chapters each. So,
got it. And how long is this? Are you almost done?
I think I'm about halfway through. So if it's 10 volumes, I think I'm either started or in the middle of volume 4. So I think I have 6.5 volumes left. So about halfway.
Got it. Well, sweet. Anything else?
I think I am good there. Cool. So
all right.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, and I closed my browser, so I lost my script. Thank you for listening, everyone, to the White, Gray, Black Manga Podcast. I am finding White, Gray, Black. I closed my script and I was like, oh yeah, I moved all the script stuff to the end, so I have to I read all this stuff now. Thank you for listening or watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you want to check out the VOD of this, they will be up on the WGB Weekly Manga Podcast channel on YouTube by the end of the week. I'm going to try to get that up tonight. If you want to listen to us as you walk your dog, like I do, with my favorite podcasts, we are on all the major podcast providers. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, a couple more, and we're on the RSS community if you want to download the podcasts. Don't forget, if you enjoy either watching or listening to us and you want to support us, first of all, head to the White, Gray, Black YouTube channel or the WGB Weekly Manga Podcast YouTube channel. Give those a like, click the little bell. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. We do podcasts once a week, so you'll get all of those. If you follow us on any of those podcast things, give us a like there. The best thing you can do for us is just keep watching, keep listening, and give us positive feedback by clicking a little thumbs up. That's all you got to do. If you want to support us a little bit more, we do have a Patreon. That is at patreon.com/WGBmanga. There are bonus episodes there, so if you like us enough to want to listen to bonus episodes, go ahead and give us some money. Any amount of money is good. It will help us do this more. It'll help us upgrade our gear. It'll help us get more time to do this, essentially, if we don't have to do our day jobs. That's a distant dream, but you never know. Yeah, that's about it. Check me out on Twitter at WGBmanga. I tweet mostly about manga there. Talk about some of these things. Yeah, as always, thank you so much for being with us.
Catch you later.
Don't forget to read more manga.